Wednesday, November the 15th. Lake level still about 9:15 and a half. Hadn't changed much in about 4 or 5 weeks. Water temperature is actually coming down a little bit. It's about 57, 58 degrees. Before I get into the fishing report, last week I asked you to email me some questions on different topics, and the response was unbelievable. I got all kinds of responses from you guys. So what I'm going to try to do each week at the end of the video is take and answer about 3 or 4 of them at a time. So before I get into the fishing report, we got the Sportsman Factory Outlets got their Black Friday sale, and it'll be starting November the 20th. They're going to have extended hours and everything on it. And what I'm going to do, I've got a flyer on it, but I'm going to post it on Table Rock Lake Fishing on my Facebook. So all the information will be there as far as the dates and the times. And they got all kinds of neat stuff. And they got a bunch of Lew's rods and reels, over 50% off. All Strike King product is 25% off. Suffolk's line, 20% off. They got special deals on whopper ploppers, rock crawlers, 20% off. And just all kinds of sales throughout the store. So you need to get in there and check some of that out. And a lot of these reels, I mean, they've got them for $29, $39. These are the ones I use every day. These are some pretty awesome prices on these reels. And as far as the fishing report, my last couple trips out, I haven't fished too much shallow. I've just tried to concentrate on some of the deep fish. And a lot of the shad are starting to get in the creek arms, and I found this down at the dam, around Kimbling and up in the mid-James River. Now, they're moving around a bunch every day. I mean, one day I'll find them way in the back of a creek, and I may go back to that creek the next day, and they're not in the back of the creek. They may be a half a mile away, more out towards the mouth. But you got to, just spend a little bit of time idling, and I've been finding them on my electronics. And there's a few different baits I've been throwing. This is a little box I had the other day. I was out on my buddy's boat, but a lot of the baits I'm throwing an ice fishing, a Rapala ice fishing jig, a slab spoon, flutter spoon, and a few different grubs. Now this is the 7/8 ounce version. One I got on this rod here is a 5/8. It's the little chartreuse and white. This one's a little blue and white. And I'll just kind of mix up the size. And I'll go from the spoon to the ice fishing jig. And a lot of times as the water gets colder, they seem like they like the ice fishing jig a little bit better than they do the spoon. But I've usually got one of each tied on. I've usually got about 5 rods when I'm doing this. I'll have a grub, a drop shot, spoon, 2 spoon rods, one with an ice fishing jig, one with a spoon, and I'll also have a topwater, because some of these fish, the shad have been pretty high up in the water column, and throughout the middle of the day, out in the middle of these creeks, they'll come up surface in 1 or 2. And the bait that's been working best for me on that has been a walking bait. I've been using a Strike King Sexy Dog, either the big one or the small one, which is about the same size like compared to a Spook and a Spook Junior. But on the jig and spoons, I'm mixing up between a 1/2 ounce and a 3/4 ounce. Now, a lot of the bait, I'll find big groups. It seems like when the shad gets down a little deeper in that 20, 30 foot, that's when the vertical fishing is a little better. If the shad are up higher in the water column, I'll use a Flutter spoon. It's a Dixie Jet. I use either a 1/2 ounce or a 5/8 ounce Flutter spoon. Try to see where the fish are, whether they're underneath the shad or towards the edge of the schools. Count the bait down and work it back in that depth range. Another bait I will work there is either a 4-inch grub, or I've been using a little 2.8 swim bait on a 1/4 ounce head, or just a 4-inch single tail grub, like a smoke or salt and pepper will work fine. And you can even try an underspin. Now, when you find the big groups of shad, normally the fish are going to be underneath the shad, they'll be waiting for a couple of the shad to drop out of the school, or you find them on the outside edges of the big schools. Normally, if them shad are in real big groups, I very seldom ever find fish in the middle of the shad. I find them below them or on the outside edges of them, as the fish come in and pick a shad or two off and go back out. But normally I've been able to catch, I get one bite, I can get 2 or 3 bites. And this should just get better and better. Some of these fish are over treetops. The other day we caught them, we went all the way into the back of the creek where it flattened out to about 40 foot, and they were right on the bottom with a spoon. The next day we went back out there was no shad or fish in that area. We had to come out almost a quarter of a mile out of that creek, and we found the shad in 60 to 70 foot of water, but they were 30 foot deep. And there we caught them on a little swim bait. And a lot of times if I'm drop shotting this time of year, instead of using a drop shot worm where the fish are feeding real heavy on shad, I'm a lot more apt to use a little shad style bait. And that's why I use the grub in the little swim bait. If they're suspended higher, I can cast it. If not, I can vertical fish it. And another thing to try this time of year, and gets it always works good, and I will take the same head that I'm using on a grub and just put it up inside the tube and fish this vertically just like I would a drop shot. Now my Panoptic has been unbelievable as far as helpful for finding these shad. A lot of times you'll be sitting on top of the shad and all of a sudden they start moving. So what's neat about the Panoptic, I can just scan the trolling motor to the left or the right, and I can shoot out 70 feet, and I can see where that school of bait is gone, so I can stay on top of them or on the edge of them where the fish seem to be, where I've been catching them. But like I say, this, normally when them fish get back in them coves like that, you'll see a lot of gulls. I have not seen the birds, but the bait is definitely, back in the creeks there. A lot of the other things that I talked about as far as the shallow stuff, the crankbaits and the football jig, my last 2 or 3 trips out, I mainly concentrated on the deep fish. Because my shallow bite had been so inconsistent. Good thing about the deep bite is when I found one fish, I found several. But like I say, they're not there every day. They move around a lot, so you got to move around trying to find them. So I'm going to get into a couple of the questions that you guys had sent. See, this one's from Gary. He wanted to know if I could discuss how to fish the flutter spoon. Gary, about 1.5 years ago, I did a video with a real good friend of mine, Bill Beck, who has since passed away. And it's about a 20-minute video on how to rig up a flutter spoon, where to fish it, and when to fish it. So if you go to my website, which is Hooked on Bass, you get a chance to watch that video. Bill has passed away, and Bill was probably one of the best deep water structure fishermen and guides that there was on Table Rock. So it's really got some good information on how to fish a flutter spoon. And thank you for your question, Gary. But you guys, there's a lot of really good questions that people have sent. This one's from Kelly. He said, I would like to know how you are liking your Garmin's and if you are using the Panoptic, and does the Navionics map work out on them as well. Well, I got the Garmin last July, my Panoptic, and used it throughout the season to make sure I was comfortable with it. And then my new boat a month ago, I went completely Garmin, and I'm absolutely loving them. The Panoptic is really the real deal. I've had several tournaments this summer that without that, I wouldn't have cashed checks. So we really caught some key fish. And, a place where it really helped us out, there was one day at Stockton, wind was blowing about 25 miles an hour. And I knew where this brush pile was because I had it on my GPS. But the way the wind was blowing me around, I couldn't stay in a fixed position. So what was good about the Panoptic transducer is set up on the trolling motor. So whenever you turn the trolling motor, it lines up with it. So before I would make a cast, I could line up with the brush pile, and I knew that that cast was going to go in the brush pile. So what was really key is I didn't have any unproductive cast trying to fan around looking for the brush. Every time I made a cast, I knew it was going to go through the brush. And you know, it's come into play, just like I was talking a little bit ago about the shad out there suspended and the fish staying on top of them. It's really a key tool for me. Now, you was asking about the Navionics. The Navionics mapping does not work on the Garmin, but my Garmin's come with a mapping system already built in that covers like 17,000 lakes throughout the country. And everyone comes with automatic depth shading, the contour lines. The mapping is the best mapping I've seen of all the different units that I've used. And then you also said, I also noticed your new Mini Coda Ultrex. I would like to hear your thoughts on this as well. It's really been a lifesaver in the wind. You know, you can use a spot lock, hold yourself in one position, and it doesn't matter whether you're deep fishing or cranking. Instead of fighting the trolling motor, I can lock it down, make a few casts. If I'm cranking or throwing a jig, then I can pull the boat up 5 or 10 feet, lock it down again. It's really been impressive of how good it does as far as holding you on one spot. The wind picks up, the motor automatically speeds up to keep you in that position. Now, one of the drawbacks about it on the electric steer, it's a little bit sensitive, so there's kind of like a learning curve in there. And I've had it about 4 or 5 weeks, and I'm pretty much getting used to it where it's real quiet. But if you move at 180 degrees, you know, real fast, it does get a little noisy. I notice sometimes when I'm around docks and I'm flipping in a stall and I've gone too far and I reverse the trolling motor to back myself up, you know, I find myself, if I turn that slower, it doesn't, you know, bother me as much. And I don't know if the noise is bothering the fish, but I like to be as quiet or stealth as I can, you know, around those docks. So, but I'm really loving it. It's the first Mini Coda I've had in probably 25 years. It's pretty impressive. And, you know, with the Humminbird electronics, I think it'll hold you on a certain depth track. Now, where I'm running Garmin, it doesn't have that feature. But I don't know if I would use that much with the spot lock. There's probably no need for it. See if we can get the... that's probably about it. You know, we're running out of video time, but I appreciate all the questions. And if you guys will keep the questions coming, I'll try to keep answering them. So, till next week, good luck, good fishing.